Hi, welcome back. I'm Jenny Skiffington.
And I'm Brunkala. And this is Propicks.
So today we're going to be talking about the movie Wicked. Wicked Part 1.
Yes. That's an important thing to go into it knowing is that this is a two-parter. I think there was kind of a lot of complaints about this. People went to the movie not knowing that this was part 1.
Yeah, it wasn't totally clear. I know, I remember halfway through it, I was like, wait, I've seen the stage play many times, so I was like, wait, we're ramping up, how are they going to wrap this up this quickly? And then I was like, oh, okay, we're ending at intermission. All right. Yeah.
And then I know there's some people that I know that decided not to see the first part until the second part comes out because they don't want to wait.
That's an interesting choice, yeah, so that you can just watch it all in one go, like those two-parter VHSs we used to have back in the day, like Titanic, Fiddler on the Roof, all those, yeah.
It makes you wonder if they're going to run the first part again when the second part comes out, so people who want to see both can see both.
I mean, and also from a business standpoint, I could see why there might be incentive to do that.
So we have a lot to unpack on this one for sure.
So much happening. I think one thing that is really interesting about this production is there are so many people who love the stage musical play. It was a book series actually too before it was a Broadway musical.
I did not know that.
But I think a lot of people were introduced to the story via the Broadway musical with Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, and it was so beloved that I think this has been in the works for many years. So a lot of people had this sort of on a pedestal, like what is it going to be like? In a dream world, I would have loved a world where Idina and Kristen Chenoweth could have played these roles, but it happened so much later that they
kind of grew out of them.
The age range,
out of them.
I loved that they did give them that little cameo piece that was written for them. I was like, thank you.
I love that too, and they were fantastic in it. I feel like they just stole the screen for the entire time they were on it, because this is their show. I love that.
Absolutely.
Really nice way to honor the theater.
Yeah, the original, the people who originated the roles.
Yes.
Oh, we should go into some comps, because
we should talk comps.
The set design and all of that kind of lends itself to the comps. And one comp, this is kind of an odd comp, but it brings to mind the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a great comp. And just a reminder,
about that world.
Our comps are, if you like these, you will probably like this movie, or similar in tone, some things that we would say are in the vein of.
Right.
So, and if you like Wicked, you might want to check out these things.
If you like Wicked, you might like this. Yes, so I would say Willy Wonka, from the one from the 70s with Gene Wilder.
Yeah, that's a great
And another one, of course, would be The Wiz. Have you ever seen The Wiz?
I think I've seen portions of that, but never.
It's another Wizard of Oz from the 70s. Michael Jackson is in it. Diana Ross is in it.
Yes.
They have that song like Ease on Down, Ease on Down. It's a little bit more, what's the word? Motown.
It's a Motown Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think at the Oscars they may have done a little piece from The Wiz. Obviously, The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz in a way. I think tonally, Wicked is very different.
The Wizard of Oz to maybe kind of get a little bit of backstory on who the characters are.
That's almost required reading. Yeah. In this case, required viewing.
Required view would be the original Wizard of Oz, especially that opening sequence. There's an element of, there's a sequence in the original Wizard of Oz where Galinda is basically in that set. They kind of recreate Munchkin Land, which is really cool.
They did a great job too. It is like you could kind of copy paste on top of each other.
So that is fun. The recreation of the original sets.
Yeah.
And a little other homages to Dorothy and her friends going up to the wizard and the Emerald Sea.
They do that in a nice way because there is such a big time gap from original Wizard of Oz to today. They found a cool way to kind of honor it and marry those stories, I guess. Yeah.
So it's just this beautiful, fantastical world.
It's a really kind of difficult one for comps. I mean, it is a musical, so you can think of any musical, but it's almost like
musicals.
Yeah, like Cats.
Rouge and Cats.
Yeah.
And, Cats, even like The Labyrinth or something, honestly.
Right. It's like
weird
dream
universe.
world, and it totally fits into that. Oh, you know what is a kind of odd comp, but like Harry Potter, because they go to this school and they have their uniforms and like
this would be like a Harry Potter musical.
Yeah,
Harry Potter, and maybe someday that will be musical. I would not be surprised if there is a Harry Potter musical someday, flying around in the brooms. So.
Yes.
But yeah, just the music in this too is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. The defying gravity sequence at the end is just like blows you away. So
it's nice escapism. I can say whether or not I agree with all of it or like all of it, that I was fully invested from beginning to end, and it's like a 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour movie, right? Yeah.
It is entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, it is introducing people to musical theater that maybe didn't beforehand know very much about musical theater or were interested. I know people are now interested in seeing the play or other musicals. So anytime people can be brought into the musical theater world, that's always a win too. So.
Oh, wait, here's another odd off-the-wall comp is like Barbie. The imaginary world. You know what I always think of now that I've seen Wicked? The sequence that I have so much freaking admiration for the art department and the like hair, makeup, and wardrobe, and then also
the costumes.
Whoever was doing like special effects, oh my god, because there's a whole sequence of Glenda going back and forth with Elphaba in their room, and all of the little traps and kind of
practical effects.
So many practical effects in this movie that worked out so well. I would love to see the behind the scenes of just that sequence, but then there was also the scene in the library where they have an entire rotating set, and there was so many cool, like, kudos to all the stunts performers. I'm sure there were gymnasts there, because there was lots of, like, flipping and turning. It was so really cool.
It is such a fun ride, for sure.
The performance, the physical performances are top tier. Like, this is the best of the best doing their thing.
Yes.
And it was just that part of it. I just get lost in. And the timing, and just I can't even imagine the amount of rehearsal they had to do with like specifically Glenda has this like wardrobe that drawers pop out of, and then she tips it over and walks on top in a mirror that like folds up and unfolds, and just all these it was so in rhythm and in beat, and like
a music video.
It's really cool. I love that aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely the choreography for sure.
So should we talk about cast maybe and dive into cast a little bit? Obviously we talked about Ariana Grande doing Glenda, and she was really good. I felt like she honored the role, really just hit the, and she plays the line, she hit all the marks and the sequences, but she plays the line of being likable and unlikable at the same time.
She's like the mean girl, but she has a soft heart, and I think she has more of a transformation than Elphaba within the story, because she views the world one way, and then she's the one who is changed, which in the second half you may even see more of that. But
yes, her voice. So Jenny and I actually have a little Ariana Grande story. We used to work on this show that she was on as like kids. When we were kids, we were like 20.
Victorious.
Yeah, it was Victorious, and we knew Ariana way before Ariana was Ariana.
Back when she had like the little pink hair, and she's like character. Yeah,
she was really sweet and always really nice. She was like actually one of the nicest actors we worked with on that set. She came up and she got to know all of us and was really sweet and well carried. She was like really goofy because she was still a kid, but she always had a beautiful voice. And I don't know, I'm sure you know this, that it was all of the recordings that you see for sound were recorded live on set, which is crazy. It is so hard to sing at that quality to begin with. To be doing it on set and live recordings that blows my mind.
And then Cynthia Erivo, very solid, very strong singer. Yes. Who else? And Jonathan Bailey as Fiero. I thought he had a lot of on-camera charisma.
He drips with charisma.
So much charisma.
You can tell he's one of those guys that like you just like him even if you don't want to like him. Yeah, he is trouble.
And that's why he has such a fun role too. It's perfect for the role, like his dancing through life sequence with the rotating set, like you were saying, and everyone's like there for it. Another thing about this film is the Oz universe as well. So I mean, you have The Wizard of Oz, and then did you realize that he wrote, I think Frank Baum is his name that wrote The Wizard of Oz. He wrote like 20 books. Like, there isn't just a story about Dorothy. There's like Return to Oz. There's all I went down a rabbit hole when I was a kid, and there's all these different like magical offshoot stories. So,
I didn't know how well versed in the Oz universe you are.
Well, and then I was Dorothy in high school, and that was like a really special role. My dad played the wizard. It was a really fun experience. So The Wizard of Oz is very close to my heart, and the books, and Wicked.
And this is really in Jenny's wheelhouse. Jenny is still very, very active in theater today. She's in a show right now, Today, that's running through the next couple weekends in LA at the Sherry.
So in the theater world, I have lots of friends who have very passionate ideas about this as a film. But you know what? I will say I went in with extreme expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised by the performances. I was really concerned, and especially Ariana Grande. I thought that she did an amazing job as Glinda or Galinda. Yeah, and the music is so beautiful. And another really cool tidbit, I had the opportunity to see Kristen Chenoweth in concert in December, and she of course had to do a little bit of Wicked. It's like her role, right? And she shared a really fun story about how really, really young Ariana Grande came to the Broadway performance, came to see her backstage and said, I want to be in Wicked someday. And she said, well, which part do you want to play? And she said Glinda. And they've kept in contact ever since. And so I thought that was really special, and kind of like a passing the torch moment between Kristen and Ariana. So that element I thought was like a really cool special thing.
I was fortunate enough to go to one of our screeners, our FYC screeners, and Billie Eilish was actually the moderator for the Q&A. They gave us free reign on recording and sharing, so I'm excited to be able to share that experience with you guys. And they do kind of go into how long Ariana has wanted. This is her dream role. It's bringing like tears to my eyes. I love that for her, because we knew her when she was just a kid on Nickelodeon, to seeing her do this today and she's deserving of it. Like, she hit her bumpy parts as a child actor. That's like, we could do a whole episode on what it means to be a child actor. But I think that she's deserving of this role.
Yeah, there was something very full circle about it, and I think she really pulls off the character. And then the other thing I really loved about the film was the set design, the world of Oz.
Oh my gosh.
Made it look so beautiful.
Kudos to Post, because the coloration in this film and the way that it pops, that goes to art department too. I just love the world that was built and how vivid and colorful and like lively it was.
Yeah, it creates an atmosphere and a universe. My one little beef with the casting is I feel like the ages are not consistent. They're all supposed to be high school, and I don't really feel that everyone is reading high school. But, I'm willing to suspend disbelief. But yes, that would be my one beef with the casting.
Yeah, casting. They made some.
It was like we're looking like around 40-ish. Some of these characters. I'm not in high school either, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, but also speaking of strong casting, I would say that Peter Dinklage as the voice of Dr. Dillamond is amazing.
Oh, and like he's always so good in performance, but I feel like he like melts your heart in this. And I just have admiration for people who do the voiceover work that can really, really make you feel for something that's like animated, or CGI.
That's the other element with this story is there's a political component, and it's kind of paralleling some things that we're experiencing today, so it's also very relevant. That
must be part of the books too, that whole animal world,
the animals, and taking away their voices is such a metaphor, like taking away the voices of minorities within this world. And then so speaking of the wizard, who is a part of all this, Jeff Goldblum. How much fun. I feel like I was so happy with that sequence. I was
Jeff Goldblum is always like a thrill ride. I think he fully understands. He's very well versed, obviously, in this business. Like, he's always so good in performance, but I feel like he like melts your heart in this. And I just have admiration for people who do the voiceover work that can really, really make you feel for something that's like animated, or CGI.
That's the other element with this story is there's a political component, and it's kind of paralleling some things that we're experiencing today, so it's also very relevant.
That must be part of the books too, that whole animal world,
the animals, and taking away their voices is such a metaphor, like taking away the voices of minorities within this world. And then so speaking of the wizard who is a part of all this, Jeff Goldblum. How much fun. I feel like I was so happy with that sequence. I was
Jeff Goldblum is always like a thrill ride. I think he fully understands. He's very well versed, obviously, in this business, and I think he's very well versed in theater and what this show is supposed to be. And he did a really good job of playing the wizard,
even if he is a bad guy. And he's loves to hate the character, and he's so likable. That's the thing. You're like, oh, he's so likable, and then oh no, he's gonna take away the voices of the animals. My goodness, and make the monkeys have wings.
Right. And I love Wicked is one of those stories where the villains are born from a good place. Like, no bad guy ever thinks he's being bad. There's no villain that wants to be villainous. They all think they're doing things for the greater good or whatever that is. And Jeff Goldblum plays that very, very believably. Definitely. As does Michelle Yeoh, who plays Madame Margot. Yes. She's like, you can't take your eyes off of her when she's first of all, she's gorgeous.
Great on camera. She always has great on camera presence. Yes.
Yeah, and she was a thrill to watch, especially across from. She plays well with Jeff.
Yes. Yeah. So strong cast. I'm sure it was so difficult to cast this because there's so many talented people in the world, and this is such a beloved story. So, I was pleasantly surprised with the execution with the cast. Yeah,
and the director of this is John Chu. Mm-hmm. He did a great job, I felt like, and I heard a lot of like he's the kind of director that's like won't have like fake flowers on set. He's like, no, we need to start growing tulips now because we're putting real tulips on set because that's what this calls
Imagine being the art department working for him. Oh man. Okay, yes.
We need 1,000 tulips.
Wow. Okay. Yes, but yes, attention to detail is always good,
especially when you have this kind of budget where it calls for the money to be spent.
If you can do it, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure the art department was sweating it out.
And then the cinematography, I thought that Alice Brooks is the DP. That was really strong.
Yeah, so nice to see a female
cinematographer. Yeah, and she did Tick Tick Boom, which I also loved. And if you love musical theater, you should check out Tick Tick Boom as well.
When you think about it, she's like perfect for this.
Yeah, and to take something from stage to screen and have it maintain a little bit of how it feels on stage. I mean, there's so many musical films that struggle with that, and then there's some who are amazing at stage to screen.
So, Jenny, if you could do a quick run through of like the things you loved about this movie and the things you didn't like as much. Give us
that. So the things I loved about this movie would be the art department, set design, wardrobe. They did a great job of creating the world, like you were saying, similar to the Harry Potter universe or something like that. Ariana Grande, it was a pleasant surprise. I think the things that are hard for me is I love the stage play, and I've studied the music, seen the play, Googled all the versions of different actresses who've played these roles. So that's the tricky thing. It's just like you get so excited about the thing you really love, and then to see it you just have to look at it. I've talked to other Wicked fans, and they said you just have to look at it like it's a completely different project than the play that you love. And then if I see it just as a film on its own, then I'm like, okay, that's impressive, and I do like it. So just trying to separate the two.
Trying to treat it as completely separate entities.
A completely different thing.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's a good way to come at it. I too enjoyed the wardrobe. I wore my swan dress.
Yes, it is very magical, mystical.
Wizard of Oz. And then I enjoyed the overall production. I would say I enjoyed the art. I think the singing was phenomenal. To capture sound live, my mind is still blown about that. Special effects were so cool, and overall I would say the ride is enjoyable. I find Wicked an interesting premise because I think it takes real bravery from a writing standpoint to take someone's material and recreate the backstory of characters that you did not create. Yes. And I don't, to me, as a writer, I don't know how I would feel if I created a whole world in characters who were supposed to be good and then kind of put an edge on them and maybe turn some of my good characters into villains and my villains into good characters. I think it's a fun exploration, but I think it's ballsy as hell.
Especially like culturally, The Wizard of Oz. I mean, there is so much that we don't even realize that's an everyday just lingo. For instance, like, everyone talks about like narcissists in therapy. The term flying monkeys?
Is it from?
That is from the flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz, because the Wicked Witch of the West is having them go do her work.
And that's like, just normal term. That's like part of psychology.
Yeah, just these terms. And so it's like, and then that term is seen, when we're talking about narcissists, and then Elphaba is the Wicked Witch of the West, and then you're taking Elphaba and like trying to figure out like where she's coming from. There's really interesting layers.
Overall, it's a great movie for families and for anyone who just wants to escape.
So fun.
If you love musicals, this is definitely for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know how to feel about it. I felt like I subconsciously avoided this show for a long time because Wizard of Oz is really treasured to me, like the original Wizard of Oz. So I was kind of afraid to see Wicked, and once the movie came out, I couldn't really avoid it anymore. Yes. So it is really interesting. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it's a pleasant surprise for sure, and it is interesting, for, like you were saying, ballsy of someone to take a character and totally tell the backstory, because in The Wizard of Oz there isn't much redeemable about the Wicked Witch of the West.
No, there's nothing. She's a true villain.
It's really interesting to see how is Elphaba turn into that. But I could see
the want, and I think all of us explore like how does this villain become a villain. But man, touching the Wizard of Oz is just, like I said, I avoided this show because I didn't want to feel differently about the Wizard of Oz, and now it's exactly like you said. I treat them as two completely separate entities. They're different things. They're written by different people, and I try to like separate those worlds almost.
Right.
But man, it's a test.
It is.
Oh, okay. So now we're gonna let you guys see this Q&A with Billie Eilish and Ariana Grande. Woof! I was right up front, so you guys are gonna have a good show.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we'll see you when you get back.
We just suddenly were in this room, and I have none of my questions that I had prepared. If then someone could get my questions. Do you want me to find them for you? Hold on. Where are they? No, Ari. Guys, you just watched my favorite. I can't leave you alone. It's okay. Here we go. Okay, here we go. You guys just watched my favorite movie.
Thank you, Dean. Ladies and gentlemen, Billie Eilish, thank you for doing that. It means so much to me, thank you. I love you so much.
I love you so much.
My team was like, who would be a cool person to do this? Who's your dream person? I was like, Billie Eilish. She's not going to say yes. She's too busy, she's too fabulous, it's too much. But she said yes, and I was like, oh shit, now I'm so nervous. I was like, this is so exciting. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you so much.
No, this is crazy. I love this girl so much, and I love this movie so much, and I love you. And isn't this movie so amazing? So anyway, I'm gonna ask a few questions. My first question would be, you're like a diehard Wicked fan, and I've known this about you as a fan for like years, and you've been talking about this for years. But my question is like, you're such a diehard, and I feel like you know the play so well, and you know the music so well, and I feel like I just wanted to know, like, going into it, what were things for you that were like totally non-negotiable, that you were like, I'm not gonna do it unless it's exactly like the play in this way. Like, what were things that just you were very particular about? Was there anything?
Well, I do feel like, in a way, like the nerdy Oz historian that worked on the movie, like I felt like a protective nerd, like the gatekeeping fangirl in the room. And I'm somewhat of a purist when it comes to making musical changes, especially. It has to have an emotional attachment or some sort of, believable intention behind it. So there was this is just one example, I wanted to protect it as much as possible and protect Glinda as much as possible. It felt like my job. And in the very beginning, And he told the story first, so I feel like it's okay to share it. But Stephen Schwartz shared that there was a version of Popular in the very beginning that had hip-hop drums in it. Hip-hop drums! And oh my God, I was like, how do I have this conversation in the most loving, respectful way? I was like, this cannot happen. How different would life be today if Popular had trap drums in it? I mean, it's just, there's a time and place, and it's not with Glinda because she claps on 1 and 3, and that's okay. And that's okay, but we have to be in character, and she doesn't have that kind of rhythm, and, I just kind of mustered up the courage to say, respectfully, I think maybe she doesn't have that in her, and we have to lead through the honesty of the story, and, little things like that, because we had this incredible responsibility of honoring this source material that has been so loved and iconic for 22 years now, and also breathing our new truths into it and finding new meaning for these lines that we've sung in the shower for this whole time, and actually getting in between the lines and getting to know these women and who they are to us, so that version can live perfectly and be what it is forever, and we can also create ours just through honesty. But yeah, the trap drums are just an example of the finding that balance.
Yeah.
It didn't happen, obviously.
I'm so glad you pushed for that.
Oh, me too.
Really.
Life would be so different, I think. It would have really ruined everything.
Yeah.
So you're welcome. I'm kidding.
I know that you did a lot of training for this, like vocally. I mean, I'm sure in every way, but I feel like I've always thought of you as, I'm sure everyone agrees, one of the greatest singers of our generation. This is not about me. But it's funny, like, I know that you did all this training, and it's funny because I feel like it feels like you've been training for this your whole life. Like, you wouldn't think you would need to do any of that, and I really appreciated that you did, and like, as a singer also, and I think that, you had to sing all these operatic, beautiful, like, iconic songs, and like, do them in the way that you felt paid tribute to them, and also was your own. And like, how many singing lessons, like how long were they, how much times a week, like, and how was that process?
Well, thank you, first of all. I started training my voice 3 months before my first audition, just because I wanted to have the muscles in my voice get used to singing in a very different way. I've always had a high voice, but it's very different than the register that I used to sing pop music, which is what I was mainly doing. And just like any other muscles in your body, your vocal cords just get used to what they're trained slowly and surely and taught to do. And when I'm singing pop, I'm usually using my mix and my belt or whistles, but like a little bit of falsetto in between, but Glinda lives in that falsetto. So it's just kind of spending a lot more time there, and then training your vowels and your consonants and your vibrato to act differently. And that's such a pivotal piece of the puzzle when it comes to Glinda, is that like coloratura, authentic, operatic, soprano style of singing. So it was very important to have it be healthy and warm, and it took a lot of work. It's really interesting.
What was that audition process like?
Oh my God.
What the hell was that?
It was crazy. It was very long. It was a 3-month process, and I just was so excited that they were going to take a chance to see me, because I didn't know if they would be able to trust that I, should even be in the room for something like that, because I knew it was required of Glinda. So I was excited to have the chance to audition. So, like I said, I was working towards my first audition for 3 months. I was training with Eric Vitro and Nancy Banks, my acting coach, every day, and she's amazing. I love her so much. But, I went in for my first audition, and I think at the time they weren't sure what, part I would sing or be right for, so they did have me sing 4 songs. They had me sing No One Mourns the Wicked, Popular, The Wizard and I, and Defying Gravity. But I was in all pink. It was obvious. No one was hiding anything. I just think that, they were very thorough, so they had me do all of those multiple times. And then I had my callback, which had scenes, and we did dialogue and more Glinda songs. That was just for Glinda at that point. It was clear, it was obvious at that point. So we did No One Mourns the Wicked again, and Popular, and Thank Goodness, and the scenes that lead up to Thank Goodness and that, are after. And it was really exciting because, I remember Tiffany from Bernie Telsey Casting had her, had her little COVID mask on. But I could tell when we were doing the scene before Popular, and she was my Elfie in the audition, she was in the chair, and that just her eyes were smiling, I could tell under her mask, and it just made me feel that feeling like I had such butterflies in that moment. And then a few more weeks went by, and then I had my final screen test, my chemistry test, with 2 different Elphabas. Miraculously, neither of them were Cynthia. We never screen tested together. Crazy. Thank goodness, We got, Can you imagine if we met and it just went horribly wrong? No. But, and my final chemistry test was 3 hours, and I was a basket case by the end. And I remember I was like, I've left everything else in this room. You know what? I'm going to stick my lashes on the mirror. And I just left them because they were poking up because I'd been crying so much. And so I just left them there, and I said, well,
That's awesome.
That's it. So yeah, it was long and thorough, as it should have been, because these roles, they have to be earned. And we worked really hard, and it was the most gratifying work ever. And it's like the right thing won't pass you by,
Yeah, you earned it, dude.
Thank you.
I don't know, it's just so beautiful, and you're so
Thank you.
amazing.
So are you.
How did you prepare for Glinda's emotional transformation of being this version of herself and then changing? And was there anything that you kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I just said it. Okay. There's a question.
I think, Glinda seems one way on the surface, but the only way any of that, fluffy comedy or frivolousness can actually work and land is if it's based on something real and honest and painful and truthful underneath, so it's about just getting to know her through and through. Why is she this person who depends so much on external validation, and it means so much to her to be liked, and why is she so afraid of being in the middle of that circle in the Oscars ballroom the way Elphaba is in that moment? It's that's her biggest fear until it isn't, and she's challenged and invited by Elphaba to change, to become better. Just sort of getting to know her through and through, so that we're not playing jokes or just hitting our marks and saying what's there. It's it can feel so real, and it can feel lived in when you get to know her like a friend. And then all of a sudden you're where the hell does she end and I begin? And it just gets, the more you dig in that way and do your homework, it gets to feel that real,
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that behind the scenes look with Ariana Grande and Billie Eilish.
Yeah, that was quite the experience, and it was fun to see them. They just gush over each other. They love each other, and it's so fun when you see 2 kind of icons. They are definitely music icons.
Yeah.
There's a little gaffe where I think Billie said, she said, this is our last song instead of our last question.
It's our last song. I love that.
That's just how their brains are trained, and it's fun to see people in their true forms. And
yes.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a great time.
Awesome. Yes.
All right. So that was episode 8.
Episode 8.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
We only have 4 left in our season, you guys, so make sure you join us next week. We have a couple films coming up, and we're probably going to do like one more TV series. So we'll see you here.
Stay tuned. Yes. Thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. Catch us next week.
We'll see you here. Join us next week on Propicks.